will warrant release. So based on all of the foregoing, I order the defendant to be detained, and I'll ask the government to prepare a draft order for my review. In addition, I believe that Mr. Toledo is a flight risk. When the FBI searched his home following his arrest, they found $40,000 in cash in his suitcase. I understand the defense's proffer that this was the cash that belonged to his wife and it was for their living expenses. However, it does mean that he was mobile. It does mean that he could potentially have taken that suitcase and gone to travel. He's a well-traveled individual who has been to many countries around the world and has a lot of connections. I'm ordering the defendant detained. He is the former president of Peru. In extradition proceedings, there is a presumption of detention so that the United States can fulfill its treaty obligations. This would be a diplomatically significant failure of the United States.
When you think about what it took for him as an indigenous person, an Indian ancestry, in Peru, a country that, like so many in South America, was gripped in the throes of authoritarian rule. In the case of Peru, the Fujimoras, what he had to endure in terms of personal threats to him and to his family in order to attain the position of president, and how he stood by that in spite of all of the threats to him, you get some measure of why this gentleman is not just a person, but an extraordinary person, a person who is deserving of more than consideration of whether or not he's just a set of numbers.
Let me just say that I agree with that. He's certainly a very accomplished individual.
Su defendido.
I think you'll see that he spent, quite frankly, during his adult life, as much time in Northern California as he spent in Peru. He came to San Francisco for the first time as a soccer player on scholarship to USF, and he earned his education there in his degree in 1969 as a result of that. After getting that degree, he went to Stanford. He went to Stanford for 6 years in Palo Alto, where he graduated with the PhD, and has over maybe the last 25 years, he spent at least half of that time in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and the rest of it back in Peru or on the road, basically hawking his book. I have a copy of it here, The Shared Society.
He has attempted to renew his passport prior to its expiration as recently of June of 2019, indicating his desire to travel by needing a passport. And as a result of all these factors, in addition to what's set out in the pretrial services report, we submit to the court that he does present a significant risk of flight. Now, if we shift to look at the special circumstances...
Before we move to that, but I do want to hear about that, I understand from the pretrial services report that when the FBI searched his residence following his arrest, they found $40,000 in cash in his suitcase.
That is my understanding, yes, Your Honor. I don't have any documentation of that yet, but that is what I learned from speaking with one of the agents.
La fiscal La Pulsina aseguró para empezar que Toledo no tenía arraigo.
The government submits that Mr. Toledo presents a significant risk of flight and that there are no special circumstances present in this case. As the pretrial services report reflects, Mr. Toledo has no ties to the United States beyond his wife and daughter, and we have no information present in the report relating to the daughter. Significantly, he rents his residence in the Northern District of California. He has some sources of income based on work that's not specifically tied to the Bay Area, and he has no other ties to the United States. Mr. Toledo has access to presumably significant amounts of money as detailed in the extradition request, and also based on information that we have, he had a significant amount of cash in his house at the time he was arrested, and there's a large amount of money, over $1 million, which is unaccounted for at this time.
La fiscal tomó la cantidad de viajes de Toledo como peligroso en este contexto. Toledo sí podía huir. De manera insólita, el juez Hickson dijo que no habría problema si Toledo huía a Perú. risas de toda la sala. Escuchen.
But those ties improving. Mr. Toledo has a history of extensive foreign travel as recently as 2017. The pretrial services report reflects travel in 2015, 2016. His Peruvian passport, which has just expired, does in fact reflect travel going through 2017. And he has a number of ties outside of the United States. He has ties to Peru, where he has a number of family members, and he has political connections as a result of his being the former president of Peru.
Well, the ties to Peru aren't really a problem because we don't care if he flees to Peru.
Correct. But those ties.
La fiscal además alertó lo que hoy mismo puede hacer Elian Carp, pues la segunda extradición viene por ella, irse a Israel.
Correct. But those ties in Peru may facilitate his travel to other countries, and most significantly may facilitate his travel to a country that does not have an extradition treaty to Peru. Notably, Israel is one such country, and he does have connections to Israel. His wife is a citizen of Israel and potentially also of another country, of Belgium.
The treaty between Peru and the United States specifically requires that there be a charging document, that there be a charge that's issued by the Peruvian government. What we have in this case is we have an investigative magistrate. But an investigative magistrate in this case is the one who authorized the provisional arrest warrant. The argument: this is an investigation. This is an ongoing investigation. It's not a case in court, and therefore your request for discovery is premature. It would be a shame if, because Mr. Toledo obviously thinks that the only place that he's going to get due process is courts of the United States, that the prejudice against him, as a person of Indian extraction, as well as because of his sort of hostility to the Fujimura regime, would deny him the ability to seek any justice or exact any justice in Peru. This is where he wants to fight the battle.
As I raised with the government, is that after Mr. Toledo was arrested, the FBI searched his home, and they apparently found $40,000 in cash in a suitcase. It's possible that's where that guy keeps his cash. It's also possible he's got some contingency planning. He could toss some clothes in the suitcase and...
Well, I think I could actually put on a witness who would be able to say that that's what they were living on. I mean, that money was kept by his wife, whose assets are separate from his. If Elian Carp were sworn to testify, she is his wife, she would say that was her money for purposes of being able to sort of continue their living expense.
As I raised with the government, is that after Mr. Toledo was arrested, the FBI searched his home, and they apparently found $40,000 in cash in a suitcase. It's possible that's where that guy keeps his cash. It's also possible he's got some contingency planning. He could toss some clothes in the suitcase and...
Well, I think I could actually put on a witness who would be able to say that that's what they were living on. I mean, that money was kept by his wife, whose assets are separate from his. If Elian Carp were sworn to testify, she is his wife, she would say that was her money for purposes of being able to sort of continue their living expense.
I'm ordering the defendant detained. He is the former president of Peru. In extradition proceedings, there is a presumption of detention so that the United States can fulfill its treaty obligations. This would be a diplomatically significant failure of the United States.